So guys, I'm actually pretty excited to talk about this new book because I actually finished this as of today, and I at least wanted to do a quick ramble on it, as I actually got this book and I borrowed it from a friend. They were saying how they got it directly from the author, they were saying how they didn't have much time to read it themselves, so they wanted me to go ahead and read it for myself and give out my personal thoughts on it. Well, I can safely say, this book definitely took me by surprise, and it was honestly a breath of fresh air, considering that as of this point I'd grown kind of exhausted from overreading too much Warhammer. So this one was a very nice change of pace and a very nice breath of fresh air to just kind of resatiate my reading palette. Plus, it has been a while since I've actually read a good coming of age story, which is exactly what this one is about. And I'm very excited to talk about it. So instead of me just sitting here talking about it, let's get right into the review, shall we? So this book, known as Child of Stone by Randy Carlton, is, as I stated before, a coming-of-age story, but it's a little different. It's got this really nice mix of fantasy elements with things like knights and swords and spirits. You got the light gods, the dark gods, all of them in this like eternal war against each other. But then of course you also got the sci-fi elements mixed in because this does not take place on Earth. This all apparently takes place on another planet called Blutar, which to me, that already got my attention because it's like, there is no mention of like other planets out there, and this is all just like a single confined story on another planet. So that already gave me some good vibes, especially with all the fantasy elements mixed in, with the sci-fi just like sprinkled in every now and again, just to kind of remind you that this is taking place on a different world. So, the story is, as I said, a coming-of-age story based on our main character, Morningstar, the son of King Armon of the Southern Kingdom. So during this time, during his birth, his mother was apparently attacked by Darkstar, the dark god and main enemy of the main background enemy of this whole storyline and world. So Darkstar tries to kill Morningstar, that's the name of our main character, in the womb of his mother, the Queen. The Queen is forced at that very point to give birth, and at that point, she is forced to make a choice of sacrificing either herself or her child, which the crazy thing is, sacrifice is a very huge theme all the way through here. Choosing to sacrifice yourself for selfless reasons, for the betterment not of yourself, but for the betterment of others. And that in itself is a really neat theme that I have not seen much fiction bring that up, like maybe once or twice, as far as I'm aware. I probably need to do a bit of digging on that, but this one really hammers more of the theme of sacrifice. Like, it's played out throughout this entire book. Anyways, so the Queen sacrifices her life to allow Morningstar to be born and be a happy, healthy boy. So, however, at this time, Darkstar does not want this child to be born, or at least to become older, because they probably view the Morningstar as a threat. So they send a champion, a rider, on a dark dragon, and as they're flying, 13 years go by. It is like Morningstar's birthday, and he is currently celebrating it with new things like an underground fortress, as you will. However, during this time, he is attacked by this dark rider, and he is cursed and turned into a stone statue right there in the courtyard of King Armon's castle. So essentially, Morningstar's father is forced to watch as his own child is bathed in flames from a dark dragon and then turned into a stone statue. God, I cannot imagine the amount of grief that occurs from that. So anyways, meanwhile, you have the opposing kingdom in the north, where the king there receives a vision of his own child becoming a champion of darkness. This child, known as Nightstar, gradually grows into a strong young prince, and he eventually is even given gifts by Darkstar with weapons and armor and all that stuff. With things like companion spirits, spirits of armor, spirits of weapons like a battle axe. And as this is going on, Morningstar is still cursed as a statue. 3 years go by from this, where Morningstar is still trapped in this statue-esque form. So, around this time, it is confirmed by the priest of the stars to King Armon that Morningstar will awaken at some point. The curse will be lifted. So after 3 years go by with Morningstar being stuck as a statue, the morning star in the sky starts to shine down, and Lightstar, the god of light here, essentially brings down one of his servants and to essentially lift the curse from Morningstar. And they do succeed to an extent. Instead of fully curing him, that darkness still lies in there within Morningstar. As of that point, he is turned into a child of stone, literally living stone, with no ears, no nose, and just his entire body almost impenetrable as living stone. Hence the name here. So we are forced to watch Morningstar as he grows up as a child of stone, learning to adapt to his new life, as well as learning some of his new abilities, such as one, being able to manipulate his own gravity, to make himself either lighter or heavier, depending on his emotions. Meanwhile, you also have other characters being brought in, like Prince Nightstar, who's planning to rise up to the throne in the Northern Kingdom. But, as well as that, you also have Princess Marcella from another kingdom, Kingdom of the West, who is also blessed with these like spiritual or holy artifacts. Essentially, it's called the Song of the Bow, and that's another thing. Throughout the story, there are mentions of different songs. For instance, like the Song of the Battle Axe, which is what Nightstar has. You have the Song of the Bow, which is what Princess Marcella has, as she is blessed with 3 magic arrows and a magic bow to use as her defense, not to mention magic hair. So these 3 main characters, Morningstar, Nightstar, and Princess Marcella, each gain spiritual weapons and sets of armor to use, which to me, that already makes them super overpowered. I mean, come on, it's a coming of age story, of course they're going to be strong. Anyways, my one gripe is that each weapon has a unique name because it is a spirit, but granted, it can get a little overwhelming at times when you have like the prince or king in Nightstar's view as of later on, each one being surrounded by this literal group of spirits, each represented as a weapon or a steed or a set of armor or even a shield. So like I said, that can get a bit overwhelming with all the names and such and trying to remember what is what. But if you can follow along with that, it's generally not that big of an issue. But I do like how everything there is here. There is drama. There is the classical evil uprisings. There is the young love story, like the love triangle between Nightstar, Princess Marcella, and Morningstar. That one was nice, but Nightstar genuinely creeped me out a bit with the fact of what he does later on. I will not spoil what happens there, but some of his actions concerning with Princess Marcella did leave a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. All in all, though, it just made his downfall that much sweeter later on. And I will say this story does manage to keep your attention all the way through. It doesn't get tedious. It manages to keep your attention as you're trying to explore this whole new world. This mix of fantasy mixed with science fiction. It's a very nice mix. It's a great hot pot, in a way, to bring everything together. And it blends very, very well. So I will not spoil how this whole thing ends, but I will say, at about 410 chapters, it is 410 pages, my apologies. It is a very decently sized book. Not too long, but not too, small either. It's right there in the middle, where you've got a good amount of story, but not so much that it's a rushed ending or anything like that. And plus, from what I read from the epilogue, there is the possibility of a sequel, and whenever that does come out, if it ever does, I will wholeheartedly be picking up book 2. As this series feels like there's more to tell, but it's not quite done yet. All in all, this one was very refreshing, and I definitely enjoyed it. So I want to say thanks to my friend for letting me borrow this book. And honestly, it's fun to be able to review a different book nowadays instead of just a bunch of Warhammer and stuff like that, which I will probably be doing more of those later on, like other books besides Warhammer. At this point, though, I just needed a breather. Anyways, let's move on to the score. So all in all, I would want to give Child of Stone a solid 8 out of 10. It's a very good sized book, with my only gripes being the sheer amount of spirits that are surrounding our 3 main characters. It can get a bit overwhelming to recognize these characters at first, but you'll gradually grow used to it. And the whole thing between Nightstar and Princess Marcella was a bit creepy, so that was another negative I had to give to it. All in all, though, if you all can stand that, this is a very amazing read, and it's a very fresh take on the coming-of-age style genre of storytelling. All in all, if you want something different from all the Percy Jacksons or anything else of that matter, this one is a very nice way to kind of quench your thirst for a good mix of science fiction as well as fantasy, all mixed into one. So like I said, I would definitely give this book a try. And thank you, Randy Carlton, for making a promising new series. And if you ever do decide to make book 2, I am so looking forward to it. Anyways, you guys, thank you again for listening. And if you like this, please feel free to comment down below, leave a like, and subscribe for more videos. And thank you all for listening, and this is Rambling Collector, signing off. Have a good day.